Let's unpack this. Okay. All right. So I don't personally believe that a person can take your destiny, just as much as I don't believe a person can snatch your soul. Okay. I believe that there are illusions that we face and shadows that we have that can prevent us from seeing ourselves clearly, right? And this has to do with PTSD and CPTSD as well, right? So if you've experienced trauma in relationship and you felt like, you know, you've lost interest or you've stopped doing certain things that are true to you, and like, you know, you're coming across information where people are telling you somebody took something, they took it from you, that there's a perspective of that. There's spiritual affliction, right? That's real, right? There's the malevolence and the ill intent spiritually that comes with that. But person to person, human to human, we don't have enough power to take things from another person. But certain traumas that we experience and the effects of those traumas can cause illusions and blockages within us that keep us from expressing ourselves in certain kind of ways. That's what's real. Okay. But with destiny swapping, it's like, can't nobody take something that's true to you or meant for you, just as much as when you're in a relationship, or like we think things being meant to be in a relationship. If you're meant to be with someone, then you'll be with them. So if you're meant to have a certain career, you'll have it. If you're meant to have certain possessions and things like that, you'll have it. Okay. It may take some time, it may take some work, but if it's meant to be, it will. And if it's not meant to be, then it wasn't meant for you. And it may have been meant for that other person. That doesn't mean they took your destiny. You see what I'm saying? And we have to be honest with ourselves about that. Just because someone's doing something that we want to do and we're unable to do it, right, doesn't mean that they took it from you. It just meant that may not have been in your path. That may not have been your truth. And we have to sit with that, right? But the other side of this is copycat energy, okay? Copycat energy. There are certain people, sometimes it's innocent, right? Sometimes it's not copying, and we have to have discernment with this. What I've learned through experimenting with energy exchange and understanding energy exchange, right? We have the ability, person to person or within a group of people, to inspire and motivate each other, right? And with that inspiration and motivation and even influence, we can activate suppressed or repressed or dormant abilities or interest or goals and things like that in each other. And so we have to be discerning and knowing that, one, this is happening. Okay, so not everybody is copying you. Sometimes it is a part of our energetic signatures and our commonalities to be doing the same things. Okay, and again, if you're healing from trauma and you're healing from PTSD and all of that stuff, certain things will be reactivated within you too. So you have to keep that in mind. Now, there are people who copy intentionally, you know, or unconsciously because they have some identity blockages. And so I'm going to get into chakras with this real quick, right? So the solar plexus chakra, right? The developmental ages are 14 to 21. And it deals with our sense of autonomy and our soul expression. So you think when you're a teenager during those years, how many people are trying to tell you who you are, who you need to be, how you need to be, what you need to be doing, what you should be. You see what I'm saying? So when we have certain issues or blockages in those areas and we continue to age and mature through life, or not necessarily mature because it's an immaturity to feel like you need to copy people to have a sense of self. Okay? You shouldn't feel like you need to copy somebody or pretend to be another person to feel whole, right? And sometimes this happens in relationships where, you know, you may pretend to be interested in certain things or pretend to be supportive in certain things that you're not, just to have a connection with a person. That's false, right? That's not authentic. That's not genuine connection. You know, some certain people do that to feel closer to other people, but that's not how you develop closeness and intimacy, by copying people. You see what I'm saying? It's one thing if you actually have that interest or you have those, you know, commonalities, or they're coming online or being activated based on your interaction and relationship. But it's a whole other thing to pretend or front like you're interested in things or that you support things that you don't, right? Or attempting to compete with people, right? There's people who will take up certain things in life just to prove themselves or to prove they're better than people but it's not true to them. Like they'll take on whole careers or take on certain, ways of expressing themselves or their appearance or something like that, just to prove that they can be better than another person or to prove that they can be something, but it's not necessarily true to them. All right. And it's like one of the ways to discern this practically is like, you observe people. Like sometimes it takes you to be around other people to be inspired, right? So I'm gonna use like working out, for example. Like if a person claims to be in a certain kind of wellness or health fitness kind of thing, right? They claim that this is what they do, this is what they're into, but they only do it when they're around other people who do it. But they don't practice healthcare on their own. They don't practice wellness on their own. They're not exercising on their own. You know what I mean? They're actually doing the opposite of those things when they're not around other people. You see what I'm saying? Like that's copycat energy. That's not having an identity for self. You see what I'm saying? Where you feel like you need to fit in with people and do those same things so that you have a sense of self. All right. So like that's one of the ways to tell, like, how are you? And if it's yourself, how are you when you're not around certain people? Do you only act like that when they're around? Do you only do those things when they're around? Or is it something that's innate in you? Something that's actually a passion, something that's actually an interest, because you'll continue it and you'll be consistent with it despite anybody being around. That's how you know if it's true to you, if it's authentic to you. Okay. So the takeaways here: nobody can swap your destiny. If you're meant to be something and meant to do something, you will. And if you don't, it wasn't meant for you. Okay. Nobody can snatch your soul either. But again, with the reality of experiencing trauma, right, and dealing with certain illusions and having to break through certain illusions and mindsets, it can feel like somebody took you or took yourself or took your soul or took your, you know what I'm saying? That's what it seems like. But being accountable and being honest with the reality that's really happening here is you were in a shadow and you were facing certain illusions, but who you are is still you. Like you still have your light. You still have your truth. You still have all of that. Don't allow your painful, traumatic experiences that you've had with certain people. Don't give them that power. Don't give them that power to say, oh, they took that from me. Don't do that. Don't do that. They didn't take anything from you. Okay. That needs to be reactivated. Consider this your reactivation. Okay. Reactivate that light, reactivate that joy, reactivate that love, because that is yours. That belongs to you. Okay. And those experiences can bring a lot, abusive experiences and traumatic experiences and stuff can bring up a lot of pain and make us want to sulk and stay in our shadows and break from that. Okay, get as much healing and support that you need to break from that so that you don't feel like somebody took what's yours. Okay? Okay. Right? So nobody can take your destiny. What's meant for you is meant for you. Nobody can snatch your soul, take your soul. That's yours. Okay? And when it comes to being copied, not everybody is copying you. Consider that. Okay? But on the other end of it, be aware that there are people who may have identity blockages or identity issues, and they seek to emulate and copy people to find that sense of self, right? And there is, like I said, malevolence and ill intent involved with this, and when you come in contact with that, or if you come in contact with that, you keep your distance from the people. Okay? People who really want to be who you are and take what you have and all that because, they feel inadequate or they feel lack in some kind of a way. When you pick up on them signs that a person is really trying to, cause harm in your life or cause disruption in your life because, they admire you or they obsess over you and stuff like that, you got to cut that cord. You got to end that relationship. You got to keep your distance. Okay? Obsession is not cute. I'm sorry. I'm not into obsession. Okay. I don't want nobody obsessed about me. I don't want to be obsessed about nobody. Okay. Devotion is the correct word here. Devotion and respect and support genuinely. Okay. We're not doing obsession around here. All right. Peace.